Welcome to the Glow Up Girl podcast. I'm Kyra Mitchell Lewis, and thank you all for joining. Hope everyone is doing well. I hope you all are having a wonderful week. As we continue to celebrate Women's History Month, I'm excited to be joined by a dear friend and sister today, Dawn Penson. Dawn is an entrepreneur, marketing strategist, and founder and CEO of Let Us Overthink. She'll join me in a few minutes to discuss her entrepreneurial journey and how her new company, Let Us Overthink, helps companies to leverage the right tools to find success in their business. So stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Glow Up Girl podcast. I'm Kyra. All right, so now I am excited to welcome Dawn into the podcast. Welcome, Dawn.
Hello, everyone.
Awesome. Well, everybody knows that you are a dear friend of mine. I made that in my introduction. So I'm really excited to have you on. It's always cool to talk to people in your circle who are doing awesome things. So this is like a definite treat for me.
I'm so excited. So excited to be here. I love what you're doing with the platform. And I love how you're reaching the community, especially for Black and brown people. So I really admire what you do.
Thank you. All right. So let's get started. Why don't you tell everyone listening and watching out there a little bit about yourself and what you do?
So I'm Dawn Penson. I am an owner and founder of Let Us Overthink. It's a marketing services and virtual services company. I'm so super excited about it. It's been a goal of mine to really launch this for a while. And now I'm at the point of, I'm doing this. And I know that there's a need out there, especially for entrepreneurs and small business owners, to really get out and get ahead of their business and do it in a really competitive market. So I'm excited to be doing this.
Yes to all those things. And let's move into, because you are an owner, but you're an entrepreneur and you started somewhere. So, and you actually, you are a marketing strategist. You also have another business. You have a few businesses under your belt. So I want to talk about first, what motivates you as an entrepreneur, and why did you decide that you wanted to own your own businesses?
Yeah, I've been in the corporate space for, it's approaching a couple decades, I guess you can say, scarily as that sounds. And I've definitely pursued and been blessed to move up within graduated levels in marketing, right? And so between going to school, getting an MBA in marketing, and then the ability to practice it and really apply it has been a blessing, because not a lot of people are able to do that. I've learned so much, and I felt like it's time to apply it, right, in true form, to help other people. At some point in corporate life, you do get a little limited in how much freedom you can exercise in doing your craft. And so I decided it was time to really explore and test the waters. I do have other businesses. So I have a jewelry business that I love very much. And now really doing this in tandem with that. And so trying to balance out all of these different things underneath my enterprise cap, so to speak. Yeah. But I'm super excited about it. It's definitely time to do it.
Yes. And I think you said something that was really important, because we talk about this a lot here on the podcast. Obviously, I'm a workingpreneur, you're a workingpreneur, and it's getting to that place of where you want to create something of your own dream. Because every day when you're on 9 to 5, well, let's just be honest, you're pushing somebody else's dream.
Yeah.
You're growing somebody else's pockets. And like you said, myself also being in the marketing industry, eventually you just get to a place to where, as a marketer, you're not able to execute in your craft in the way that you would like to, because there are boundaries and limitations. And
Mm-hmm.
so, I mean, I think that can be very motivating if you're someone who is like we always talk about, we're both big picture thinkers. We dream big. And if you're someone who's doing that and you feel like there's almost like, the box is being closed and it's like, no, stay here. No, stay here. We're going to just stay here. We're going to do it. We're going to do it this way. I think that's why it's really important to be able to launch things on your own so that
Absolutely.
you're able to still have that freedom to sort of live out
Girl.
your dreams. Live out your dreams while you make a living, right? Until you're able to transition, hopefully, to a place of like soul, like business ownership, and your everyday is just your business.
Absolutely. You couldn't have said it better. And especially for me, what I'm finding as I'm getting older is that freedom of time and expression is so important to me personally, with the introduction of having my little one and just prioritizing life, period, full stop. Right? It's just like, no, I need the time. And when you start to realize how much of that gets sucked into, kind of like a little bit of the bureaucracy that you have to deal with working in a very structured environment, it's a drain, right? On the creative spirit that you have. And then you sit back and you're like, wait a minute, I'm devoting 8, 9, 10, 11 hours a day to this. No, something's got to give.
And, I think you said something that was very key, and I think like I've been experiencing the same thing. I think we've talked about this. It's like, as you get wiser, older, you just want something different. And and I think obviously with, the pandemic years, living through that, being here now, it just helped to give a different perspective. I mean, I feel like most people should have gained a different perspective during those years. But I know too, like you, for me, I'm like, like time is very limited. Time is moving so fast. I mean, I swear it's like already like almost the end of March. We're just like, seemed like just yesterday I was saying, oh, it's March 1st. And now I feel like we're already like almost at the end of March. And it's like the time is going really quickly. So time is just really valuable and really important, and where you place and how you use that time. So
absolutely.
Yeah. And it's like, so yes, not telling anybody go out there and quit your job. No.
No.
Because the bills, y'all, the bills, think about the bills. But I think that you should have conversations with yourself about how do you want to spend your time, because life is precious. It's not promised. You could not wake up and be here tomorrow. I mean, it used to just be like a thing of like, oh yeah, only old people die, or, older people, but that's just not the case anymore. And so you want to make sure that, you have those real conversations with yourself about what's important to you and what you want for your life.
For sure. And the blessing, I think, that I've seen over the past few years because of the pandemic is that there's this rebirth happening within, the generations, right? And there's this identifying awareness and self-awareness and self-care and the importance of that and prioritizing that. Whereas before it was there, but it wasn't at such a height of priority. And so, when we've sat through the pandemic and we've witnessed all of this bad, happening and the weight of that on individuals, and it just kind of turned the pendulum and was like, no, I'm taking my life back and I'm taking back what brings me joy. And so I've had that awakening too, to say, no, I have to make a change. And like the movie, Get Rich or Die Trying, like, we're going to put this all in and we're going to try our hardest to get liberation, right?
Yeah.
And get to the freedom that we want. So that's where my mind is.
Because nobody's going to do it for you.
No.
Like if you're waiting around for, because I think I actually had this conversation with myself today. Because I always have, and anybody who knows me, I'm always talking. I always talk to myself and have conversations. And sometimes I answer me back. Sometimes, most times they're just conversations with God, and I'm just like telling him things. But, I was saying this today, like, what kind of life do you want to live? Do you want to live a life where you're always waiting, where you're waiting for something to happen? Because I know, like, for me, I go full steam into like anything that I'm doing. But at the same time, I mean, obviously in the profession, if you're a business owner, you may have a service, you may have a business where, it is dependent upon this thing has to happen in order for me to have success. But that's just something to think about. Like, I've been thinking about that, like, this whole morning, about waiting, and how do I personally remove some of those boundaries or those limitations for myself, where really, in order for me to have like a next step of success, it may be contingent upon another person doing something. But I'm trying to get to a place to where like, the people are like added value. And if this person makes this decision, it's added value. But no, I've find a way for myself to build something that's sustainable, that's going to bring in revenue, whether or not the people, more people come to it.
I love that.
It's just,
that was a mic drop.
Girl, the nuggets. Get the nuggets. But no, that just came to me. So it's just been on my heart this morning to to think about. So Dawn, talk about, just the fact that, as entrepreneurs and a professional, what motivates you to keep going? Because I know it's not always easy. You're a mom, a wife, a professional, and you have 2 businesses now.
God is at the very, 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 very forefront of everything that I do, my family does. That's number one. But now that I have, for me, like, my why at this point is my daughter, and it's crazy how kids mimic and what they see and what they do. And even now with the other business, when I, do different things, she's like, oh, and it's nighttime, mommy, we're going to work on your stuff now, and she understands that in her mind, even at her small age. And so my mom was a chain breaker, period. My story and my beginnings coming out the hood, growing up in the South Bronx, she had to make really tough decisions and do a ton of sacrifice. And I don't think she realized until much later on how much I looked up to her, because it took an exceptional amount of energy and strength to break through and break us out of that situation to move us ahead.
Right.
And I credit her for so much of my success of where I am today. And so she's my hero. She's my woman of the month for celebrating history. Yes, my mom. So for me, I want to be that same type of individual for my daughter. It's so critical and so important. So when I'm dirt tired, and trust me, I'm dirt tired at like 7:30, 8 o'clock. Look, I just want to veg out and just like be on the gram and just scroll. But I have to realize just what the priority is and what the goals are. That level of fatigue and tiredness that I have, well, you know what, probably when I'm, a few years from now, able to fully retire out of corporate life, I can have that freedom of time. And that's the thing I'm chasing, is that it's to me, it's even more valuable than the actual money side of it. It's just to have the time to be there for her, to go to her games, to do whatever. Yeah. And so when you say a motivator, solely that. And then there's so many other things that feed into that too, just from a family side and just personal goals.
Yeah, I love that because it is Women's History Month, and we are celebrating women this month on the show. And I think that's really important because your daughter has a role model. You had your mom that you looked up to, who you have modeled, get your drive from, anybody who knows Dawn's mom Smith, shout out. Yeah, she's definitely chain breaker, change initiator, all those, change agent. She's like all those things, and such an amazing person. And I think like it's really cool that you are driven at really leaving a legacy for your daughter, and not necessarily, by the money. Of course, we all know we have to make money, right? But I think that you prioritize the right things, and thinking about that time factor, and the fact that you are trying to work towards I all the time, it's amazing how I think when we're younger, we're chasing we want the money because we think the money at the root is the thing that's going to bring us the better life, because it's if I get the money, then, I can quit my job and then I can go places. But I definitely understand what you're saying. Cause right now for me, it's just having time to do things that I enjoy doing, relax. And even through, working even on the business, I've even just given myself it's these days out of the week that now I will work, because I'm I can't burn myself out on the things that I want to do, the place that I find purpose. So I still have to and also too, because when, I know you probably experienced this when you're the workingpreneur, right? Sometimes you forget, right? You forget about, well, you don't forget about your baby girl, but say the husband side.
Oh yeah.
The husband side of it, it's you're working, and it's he's out there, and I know my husband will be talking to me, and I'm okay, give me 10 more minutes, I'm almost finished. But
absolutely.
But I made a really intentional effort over probably late last year to say, these are days that I work on Glow Up Girl, during the week after I get off of job A. Take a break, quick break, come back, sort of plow through. But then I try to leave time in the evening where we can still have that connection time, whether it's a show we like to watch, or, we're just knocking around, doing something around the house. Because if not, I was finding myself last October, just burnt out. I was just who is this? Because I don't like this nighttime. And then, and just not really feeling connected to my spouse.
Yeah, I can totally, I'm there with you with that. And that's the balance, right? It's so tough. And I'm actually still learning how to do a better job of balancing. Because for me, it's all right, you got God, you got family, but you got to make time for the business. And luckily, I have such a wonderful, supportive husband. I thank the Lord. But also at the end of the day, I'm trying not to forget about him in this process, right? And take advantage of his support. Right. And I don't want to take advantage of that. Yeah. And so it's man, what are you? Some things you got to give up. And the other day I was listening to someone quoted this on the gram. And they were talking about, what are you going to exchange your time for? And I noticed for me, sometimes I do sit down and I'm looking at a little bit too much of a particular show. And I'm wait a minute, I can repurpose this time. Or it's the sacrifice of waking up a little bit earlier. Or you know what, instead of that hour lunch, you need to take a half hour. So now I'm trying to be conscious of things that I could actively do during the course of the day, so that I won't have to make those extreme sacrifices on the late night side that can impact, what I have going on, especially with my husband. Because at that point, I give my daughter all the attention as much as I can, but usually it's the husband that takes the L. So yes, better about that.
Well, I think that's really good, because one thing that I realized probably in the month of February, and it was shout out to Pastor Purvis at Disney World Church, because all month we were talking about relationships in February. And there was a week where he hit us with your love language. And I was oh yeah, let me dust that thing off, So I actually went back into mine and just like took the quiz again because like I knew what they were, but I wanted to just see. I mean, time has passed, so I wanted to see. It's been a while since we took it together. I didn't ask my husband to retake it because I remembered like his top two were physical touch and quality time. Mine are like complete opposite. Words to affirmation is always my top one. And then the second one for me is acts of service. It wasn't acts of services about 3 or 4 years ago. It was quality time. But I think in the sense of how life has shifted now that I work at home full time, I spend a lot more time at home since the pandemic days. So I'm in the house like a lot. So I feel like I'm not really struggling there with the quality time, but like definitely the words of affirmation, affirm me, please. Yes. Affirm me. And then acts of service. And it's just like little things like just help me out. And I think maybe that did shift because of being at home, because I think a lot of times I've read a lot of things where women who may work at home full time and their husbands don't, they tend to feel like they're being turned back into like the 1950s woman, because it's like he's expecting, you're going to be home and you can let in the plumber, or you can let this person in, or you can do these things. And I chuckled when I saw that, because I was like, wow, I'm really glad like that's not the dynamic, in my house. So I'm grateful for that. But I said all that to get to just simply like understanding each other's needs. Yeah. And so what I realized that I hadn't been doing is I was wanting him to honor my love language, but I wasn't giving in return. Because because my husband's like, oh, he likes to be kissed. I mean, well, I can take a leave that, I'm like, okay. Or, like hold a hand. It's just not really like, I guess that's just not how I show affection. I'm more of like a talker. Let me tell you about that. I love you. Like you're the best, but like, I don't have to be on top of you to do that. but in that moment, it was when my pastor talked about that it allowed for me to see my flaw, which was that I had been neglecting his need and the thing that he needs me to pour into him as far as how we express love. And, for me, it was like, you tell me you proud of me and, or I'm doing great. You like what I'm doing, or, you come in and say, oh yeah, I'm going to help you with Max tonight. I'm going to take him for the walk tonight. Like, those things get me like, I'm like, I'm like, do it. But then on the flip side, I wasn't giving like just a simple act of being able to, when I leave in the morning. So I think too, like the dynamics change for you when you are at home all the time. So like I get up at 5:40, he's sleeping. And, like I would go work out, go take Max for a walk, come back upstairs, take a shower, get ready for work. And I would just go downstairs. But then I was like, well, I should go back to when I used to leave to go to a job. I used to like give him a kiss.
Oh, yeah.
And so workout. Yep. So all that just helped me to like remember those things and to get back to those things.
I'm taking like notes. Like, wait a minute. I could definitely step up my game. But I love that you were reminded, of that. And it's reminders like that are good to sustain a good relationship that you have. So
I was like, thank you, Jesus, because your child was not doing my part.
Girl, I totally understand. I fall down all the time on that.
Yeah, I'd be like, wait, what? No, it's it looked like it's 12:30. I think you need to go to bed. That's the only time 5:40 matters, when I'm like, no, it's almost when I gotta get up at 5:40.
Right, exactly.
You tapping, but I ain't rolling. or the what? Huh? What you said, Teddy? All right, I digress. So it's important what we're saying, everyone. It's important to find that balance and try to find a balance that works the best for you.
Yeah.
It's not going to be the same for everybody.
Not at all. And it's communication too is a big part of it. Right. Yes. And so I've always been good in that area. Mm-hmm. Good, bad, or indifferent. I want to know what the deal is, how you're feeling. Right. And lay it out. And so that is one thing that we do well. Mm-hmm. And sometimes, I have to be open to what's going to come at me, and I receive it. Yeah. And I take it and, try to do better. But in balancing life, period, the communication has to be there. Yeah. Because if not, you can't identify with the challenges and get better from it. So
I think that's the aqua trait, because it's like, ain't nobody going to sleep tonight.
You ain't sleeping none.
I got time. Yeah, I got time. I'm good. Let's do it. But I think on the flip side, it's the aqua and the Capricorn, because the Capricorn, which is my spouse, the Capricorn be like, I ain't doing this with you, and shut down and be like, good night. And they go to
Aries. They're like, no, we could go toe to toe. I'm just like,
yeah, mine be like, no, I can go to sleep, and I can go to sleep with you talking. Because it's like once they're done, once they have decided in their head that they're not going to do this anymore, they're just not going to do it anymore. It doesn't matter what you keep talking about, because I can go, because I'll be in there. And then thirdly, he was
we gotta check the list. We gotta work on the list.
My husband was like, is it like you're like a tape recorder? Because it's like somebody just press play and you just start talking. I was like, okay. So anyway.
So love it. Friends. This is Friends. Just keep it out.
And these are all important things when you're an entrepreneur. Like they just are. I do also want to ask you about your faith. Yes. Because I know that's important to you. It's important to your family. You're very active in your church. And what role does your faith play in just really keeping you balanced and motivated?
Oh, it's primary. It's everything. I can't be who I am. I can't work the job that I couldn't even get the job that I have without God. I couldn't have this life without God. Every move, every atom, every molecule of life belongs to God. And so in acknowledging that and knowing that God is designing our lives, I rely on God to lead me, and there comes the resistance of just me, earthly, carnal, Dawn, wanting to do earthly things and going sideways sometimes, and God tucking me back on the track, and here we go, forward again. But, my family is faith-filled. It's crazy to think, when I grew up in New York and I lived in New York, I certainly God was always, in my heart. But I really made a connection when I moved down here. And then when I found my husband, he just amplified the learnings for me in a way, and not only taught, but helped me understand how to apply it. And I credit him a lot for that, because before it was like you have somebody teach you something, but until you know how to actually sit down and apply it to your life, that's when it's like the aha moment. And so when I found a good Bible-based church down here, and really was in the learning phase of it, especially early on when I moved down here, it was just like I was having a whole enlightening period for myself. And so, but with the teachings and just what I know, and just even if you don't have a, Bible-based church, but you have God in your heart, God listens wherever you are, in the car, in the shower, on your walks, wherever, in the closet, prayer closet. Come on. We know about that. It's something that I exercise every day. I probably talk to God maybe 10 times a day. I talk to him when the people at work getting on my nerves. I talk to him my husband done did something sideways and I gotta holler at him. When my daughter is like working it, or when I'm having like the most amazing day. You know, I recently moved into a new home, my husband, my family and I. And from like taking it back from where we lived previously, but even for me, it's the first time ever that I've ever owned a home, lived in a home. So it was, and it has been just a blessing upon blessing upon blessing. And really what it boils down to is obedience and diligence and the path to get here, you know, and that's a whole nother teaching for a whole nother day. But certainly it's important that, you know, my family and I, we keep God's first because we need him to move and navigate through life. A lot of people think it's them. You know, I have these millions, I'm wealthy, I'm this, I'm that, you know, or the blessings
I'm
they
smart.
have.
I'm smart. Well, somebody gave you that brain, my friend. So.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So very much.
I thank you. Thank you for being transparent about all of that, because I think it's important. I mean, if you are, you know, if you believe, or, you know, whomever, whatever your faith is, whatever you believe in, it's just important. Think that you have to be grounded in that. You have to be grounded in that to live this life. And, you know, and like, yes, I mean, the thing I think God probably appreciates the most about me is my personality. He gave it to me. So this is how I preface every moment when I think something. And I'm like, well, I just went ahead and said it because I thought it and you heard it. So, I mean, we're going to repent for the thought. But I mean, but Lord, you know this personality.
Absolutely.
And but like you said something really, really critical is, you know, what we want in the flesh. Like, you know, because we're still living, we are Christian, we are believers, but we are still human and people that live in the flesh every day. And I don't care how many times I read my favorite scripture, Jeremiah 29:11, and I know that God has plans for me, but I'm always on the side trying to like speed them plans up and just being like, but can you just give me a peek at page number? Like, how long we gonna do this right
here? Always.
How long you see, like, for real, how long you see this one? Like this right here lasting? Because I'm really kind of ready to jump, but I even with all that, like I'm like you said, I'm always very thankful for the lessons, because there are many of the times where, you know, I have wanted and thought it was time for me to jump into something that just quite simply I wasn't ready for. I wasn't ready to receive that blessing yet. And I'm thankful that God was like, no, girl, nah, we ain't gonna put you there yet.
Down.
Yeah. So I always have those, you know, moments to like come back to say, yep, you're right. And it's like you said, being faithful and obedient, because it's like, yeah, if you're not faithful with a little,
what are you going to do with the lot that you get? Absolutely. And you got to go through. It's critical that you go through, because every single one of us is a testimony.
Yes.
And so, and that the testimony is to give him the glory, right? So you can't instantly get what you want, because there has to be some tension. There has to be some struggle, you know, and you read the Bibles throughout, you know, there's struggles before you get to that glory moment. So it's a necessary.
And you have to appreciate and realize where your help comes from.
Yeah.
Because if it just happens like instantly overnight for you, you may not give God, you know, the glory. Because you will think like, oh yeah, because it's like, well, this person helped me. I mean, like all those people were there for a reason. Like those people were divinely aligned in your path for you to get to the thing that you now have. So yes. Amen to all that, sister. Okay. All right. So now let's talk about your new business. Let Us Overthink.
Yeah.
So this is pretty cool services that you're going to be offering. So can you talk about some of the solutions that you are offering?
Sure. So, it's bringing two things together in one. So one, for business owners and entrepreneurs, when you think about what they face, of identifying the simple things that, as marketers, it's come natural, right? So who's your target audience? Who's your core audience? How do you speak to them and develop the messaging and all working through the strategy part of it? That's where people have struggled. They're like, wait a minute, this is too much, right? So yeah, for businesses, you don't necessarily need like a 30-page business plan, but you do need to identify who you're talking to, who's your customer. How do you reach them? Where are they? And let's touch them and get them and teach them about your business to ultimately get them to convert to buy your product or service. And so that's where we come in. I come in to help you just realize this, and let's develop a plan to get you there. And so I'm excited to do that because I've seen over time with just friends and I've had one, clients here and there. It's just once you get over that hump and you're it's clear, it's just oh, game over. Now we're rolling, right? In addition to, other tools like social media is huge, right? And I don't think that individuals know how to take full advantage of it or the how of it, or it's overwhelming, right? Oh my gosh, I got to create content and I got to do this and I got to create copy and I don't know how to write this well and and so it's just taking all of that, creating a strategy and a plan, handing it off. And then I have been blessed with also just others that I have access to help with the extension of it. You need a graphics person, I got you. That's a part of the team. You need someone to manage a calendar, a content calendar. Cool. I got that for you too. So it's a one-stop shop in addition to helping your business organize. So that's the other piece. That's the kind of the nuance that makes Let Us Overthink a little bit different. So when we think about business owners and time, and we've just talked about this, right? Having time when you have emails, when you need to set up meetings, when you just need to do your social posting, you don't have time for that. You need a virtual assistant. You need someone to coordinate your life. Well, we offer those virtual services for you too. Okay, so that's all within scope. You could take full advantage of the full arsenal of tools that we have, or if you need just someone to do the virtual services part, that's cool too. You just want to focus on marketing strategy just to get you grounded and get you going, and there for you too. So Let Us Overthink is pretty much again, a full service agency, if well, to help you, walk through your business and kind of maximize where you are and then scale up.
I love that because a lot of all those things you said are very true. When people are starting businesses and trying to figure out how do they communicate to their customer, that is the thing. If you don't have clarity in the message, no, it's not going to move. It's not going to move from there. And then also just the virtual assistant side of it is super important because people, listening, watching, what I would tell you is that it's an investment in you.
Absolutely.
Because if you need that time, it's the little things I even think about with myself. It's the little things that eat so much of your time, going through emails, checking schedules, making sure doing all those, doing the calendar, doing, all these things, a lot of that stuff, that's the stuff that takes away from you being able to work more of the business. Because even like you mentioned, the strategy part can be, if it's not a thing, and it doesn't matter, if you are good, you can be really good at it. You can be great at marketing strategy. I mean, I think I'm great at it. Because I do it, but I do it every day for someone, for another company. And sometimes when it's your baby, it's hard for you to get out of your own way to see what makes the most sense. So it's just taking those baby steps to figure out, give Dawn a ring. Email her. She's going to tell us where, but email her, get in contact with her and have a conversation because I think that's important. I think a lot of times people may say, oh, well, I can't afford the investment.
Right. And, you know, we have customized programs. That's why it's important to have like that initial consult. Right. And so, yes, you can reach me at on the gram. Right. I'm at Let Us Overthink. And then I'm also via email, letosoverthink@gmail.com. But let's have a consult. Let's talk about it. Right. And it's just a session just to talk and download, to understand where you are, what you're trying to achieve, and then just map it out from there. And if it's a fit, you know, mutually, then we could proceed forward, you know, with proposals and all of that. But it's really just taking that baggage, because when you're bound down, when you're weighed down by all that, you can't think visionary level when you have like 60 other things to do. And let's be frank, when you're a business owner, you're over everything. You're over finance, you're over all of your marketing and stuff, over operations. If you got to mail things out, you're over that too. I mean, it's a lot, and it can be overwhelming.
Yep. You got a product, you the product designer, you like the production manager, the traffic manager, you name it. You the virtual assistant, you all the things. Exactly. And Laura knows, like, I don't want to be the accountant in my own. I don't want to be the accountant in my family. You don't want to be it like for my business. I just want to be like, let me do this right here. Like
exactly.
Let me live in my wheelhouse. So, okay. No, I love that. Just one last question on the business. Sure. Where did the name come from?
Oh, yeah. You know, I had like a brainstorm session with myself, and I actually prayed on it. And it came to me because people have a tendency to overthink things. And then I started thinking back on like behaviors that I used to have. Like I could take something and I could think that thing 60 ways from Sunday and be like, all right, what am I supposed to do with this again? Because you just get like down a rabbit hole. And I think that's what happens with people. They have really great intentions, but then they get down a rabbit hole and they don't know how to come back from that.
Yeah.
So instead of just going down that rabbit hole, I got you, you know, and that's kind of like where the name come from. So let us think about all the things that you have.
Let us do it.
Overthink.
Yeah. Yes. Because when you down there with analysis paralysis and just like where to, you can take that, call Dawn, have a consult, give her all that, dump. This is the one time, everybody, that you can just dump. You can dump this on somebody else, dump it, and let her come back to you with a plan.
It's easy breezy. It's
awesome.
That easy.
All right. So now we're going to move into 3 things with Dawn. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Help the audience get to know you a little bit better. And one, I always love this because one starts out, it's a 2-parter. So it's how do you start and end the day?
Oh, okay. Definitely. I start the day as soon as I open up my eyes with a thank you prayer. Just acknowledging that I'm here. Thank you, Lord. So that's how I start the day. And then generally that's honestly how I end it too. You know, I end in like a prayer, and it's mostly a prayer with my daughter at this point where she's learning, and we're learning the Lord's Prayer. And so she definitely has her own rendition of it at this moment. It's including like, you know, various like Encanto Disney characters in it. I don't know how to name it inside of it, but the Lord is like, all right, we're going to bless all those characters.
Oh my goodness.
But that's how I start and end the day. And then, you know, generally, and drink water. That's something I learned a long time ago is so when I start the day, do the prayer, and then I drink some water. And it just helps, like, I don't know, it's like that magic that works through you to kind of like awaken you. And because, you know, I've learned over time that water is critical to just your functionality, honestly, with your like mental health, like just, so that's, I'm a big water person, big water proponent.
Awesome. All right. Number 2, what is either like a favorite song, book, or a show that you're like just loving right now? And if you've got more than one, you can also share.
Gosh, so a favorite song, girl. Okay. So I have I can go. I'm in love with Tasha Cobb
Okay.
and her work, her music. And definitely Maverick City. Like they're big on the playlist. From that aspect. So that's like from a music standpoint, with books, I have a list of books that I want to read. I've been getting into like financial health and like wealth, because I'm big on like wealth generation. And so I have a couple of books that I want to read. The Compound Effect is one. And The Wealth Factor. Like there's a list of books. So I haven't read those yet, but they're on the docket to read. The last book that I read was actually by Joel Osteen. I read like most of his books. I enjoy them. But I'm starting to like navigate now to like educating myself better on the financial side. Because that wasn't necessarily something that was like taught really well to me, especially in my primary years. So,
okay, awesome. And lastly, what does a day off look like for you?
Oh, I'm a napper. I'm not going to even lie. I love me a nap. Like I could tell you prior to my daughter's birth, man, if I could squeeze in a nap on a Saturday afternoon, what? Or Sunday after church, man, I could be out for like 2 hours. But generally nowadays, a day off is filled with a little bit of rest, but also just mapping out the businesses. So depends, on what my focuses are, but just being cognizant of goals and I've learned this actually from you, Miss Kyra, of writing goals down, and attacking it. Because when things are on paper, it's more real.
Yeah.
Versus when it's in your head and it's just stuck there and then you don't know how to prioritize. So, I make it an intentional point for the month of April, for the month of, whatever. Yes. These are my big goals and work it through. I even gotten to the point now where I say to myself, what's my 1 or 2 goals for the business and for even for work a day? Because then it helps just kind of craft and guide your mind to what you have to achieve. Yeah. So typically a day off, a little bit of rest, but really just working what I'm thinking about for the business and getting things done. Awesome. And spending time with the baby, who's not a baby anymore.
She'll always be your baby. Okay?
Always be my baby.
All right. Well, friend, I have to tell you, it's been so great having you join me. So glad we got to do this. Before I let you go, I'm going to ask you to leave the audience with 3 things you'd like them to take away from this discussion today.
Ooh, okay. Depending on where you are in your life, God first. Acknowledgement of that, just acknowledging that you are part of a greater being, and that whatever is your desire, your goal, your dream, that it can be realized, but you got to put the work into it, right? And it does take a level of belief, faith, and prayer to get there. So that's one thing that we talked about during this. To experience, to be present during the journey. I think that, as we do things and we rush and I want to get there, we don't stop to enjoy where we are and realize that this is all a walk to something greater. And so just absorb and be present in the moment. And 3, communication. If you got a spouse, if you got a boyfriend, a girlfriend, friend, whatever your situation is, as you work and take on businesses and opportunities and things in life, and you're attached to someone, make sure you guys are on the same page, because the greater support does help you achieve what you're trying to do. And you can't shut out someone or have imbalance in a relationship and try to go out and do your thing. You have to you have to include that person into it, so that it could be successful. So those would be my three.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I love those. Like I said, I'm so thankful that I was able to have you on, and for all these nuggets that you shared today, and just your transparency with everything that's going on, with you and, in your life, and as you launch this new business. Much success, my friend.
Thank you.
Sending you so much love. Thank you so much.
I receive it.
All right. Well, stay tuned, everyone. I'll be right back. Welcome back to the Glow Up Girl podcast. I'm Gyrl. Want to thank Dawn again for joining me today. If you want to learn more about her, check out the links in the show notes. If you'd like to learn more about Glow Up Girl, visit us at glowupgirl.com. You can check out past podcast episodes. You can sign up to be a guest on the show, grab our social links, and so much more. And also be sure to check out our career-focused podcast episodes as well. It is where I share my personal career journey and try to give a few nuggets and advice to anyone out there who may be looking to elevate in their career, who may not be sure if they are in the right career or job, and just to give you some, good positive nuggets that you can take as you do this thing called your career journey. Also, if you are listening somewhere where you can leave a review, I would really love it if you would review us, leave me a review. Also, if you are not subscribed to our YouTube channel, do so, because you can check out the video. You can see us actually having the conversation we had today. As always, thank you all so much for joining me today, and I will see you all next week. Until then, stay focused, fab, and glow up. Take care, everyone.